Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I haven't been with you for a little bit because I have been down under. I have been in Sydney, Australia, and more specifically at the Eschaton in a bunker down under 2025. Now, a little bit more on that here momentarily, but my great friend Al Pershon sponsored this conference. This is actually my fourth trip to Australia. Been my tremendous privilege to be able to speak in, I think, a grand total of 4 or 5 cities over there. And so Al contacted me back during the summer, and Dawn Steed from a Facebook page on uh, Fulfilled Prophecy in Australia. I'm not sure I got that right. But anyway, she had contacted me on Facebook and asked me if I'd be willing to come. And I said, you bet, I'm down for that. Absolutely love Australia. It's a marvelous place in many, many ways. It is horribly expensive, horribly expensive. I don't know how anybody affords to live there, to be honest about it. But nonetheless, so things proceeded. And so I left for Australia. Before I left, things kind of went downhill a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit of a saga here. My wife naturally expected to go, my wife planned to go. Unfortunately, she got sick. As many of you know, my wife's health is not all that great. She has stomach issues and it flares up on her at times. And she had a pretty severe flare up. So she had to cancel going to Australia. After I got to Australia, she and I were talking on the phone, and she was in the emergency room when I was talking to her. Needless to say, that scared me to death. I was not a happy camper at all. And I said, "You didn't tell me you were quite that bad." "Well, it was necessary for you to go." So, anyway, my wife did not get to go. Well, on the flight over, now you understand, folks, that's a 16 and a half hour flight. And it seems like a 16-day flight. It just goes on and on and on. And so at some point in the flight, I noticed I started experiencing pain in my lower rear jaw and tooth. I'm going, what in the world is that all about? But it didn't get worse and worse and worse on the flight. So I kind of dismissed it, didn't think much about it. And so I get over there, get into the hotel room. Al and I go eat, but I noticed that I couldn't chew on that side without a whole lot of pain, contact pressure pain. I go, I've not had this on that side. What in the world is going on? Well, after the first day there, perhaps the second day there, all of a sudden, this jaw felt like it's going to fall off. That tooth at the very rear, which is the only tooth back there, was just, that pulsating, pounding, sharp, sharp pain. And I sorry about that. Hope you can hear all of that. Uh, and I didn't have any good painkillers. And so Al's daughter, Lauren, wonderful, wonderful girl. I say girl, she's 40 years old, I guess. Anyway, she used to work for, and Al knew personally, a dentist that's supposedly the best dentist in Sydney. Excellent reputation. Well, they managed to get me in. And by this time, I mean, I was in severe pain. Really, as most of you probably know, there's no pain quite as bad as a toothache. It just gets your whole body involved. And so he saw the problem immediately, and his words were, "Mr. Preston, you have a massive abscess, and you have a massive pus pocket underneath this tooth." And he said, "What's happening is it's pushing the tooth up off of the bone and impacting the nerve. I think that's what he said, something like that. And he said, you got one of three choices here. Number one, we can extract the tooth. And I said, no, no, no. I don't want to have a tooth socket on a flight home in 2 days. And he said, no, you don't want that. Number two, we can drill straight down through the top of the tooth and we can drain the pus out of the abscess and pack it with antibiotics. Or number three, we can go ahead and do um, what is it they call that when they kill the nerve? Yeah, that. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. So I said, number three and number one and number three is out. Uh, Root canal. That's what I was trying to think of. I said, I don't want a root canal at all. So he said, okay. And I have to say, his reputation is well earned. He's very gentle. Never felt the needle. Never felt the drilling. And directly he kind of steps back from the table and he says, well, okay. And I said, well, if you don't mind, give me a break. Let me go to men's room. And he said, no, no, we're done. And I was like, seriously? Yeah, seriously. Well, of course, naturally, the face is half dead. And we go out to eat. But later that evening, naturally, the deadener wears off and the pain started in. And ever since then, instead of being better, it is better. I'm confident, but I've been having headaches. My temple has been throbbing. I wake up at night with the headache. I wake up at night with the tooth. And so, thank the good Lord, I've got an appointment in the morning. This is, well, actually, I'm showing this on Monday morning. So, I've got an appointment at 10 o'clock Central Time right here in Ardmore with my regular dentist. And I almost dread to hear what he has to say. I just can't figure why the tooth continues to just be so painful. It just does not want to quit. Now, that's the bad news. Another piece of bad news, I'll get to the good news in a moment. The good news was, I'm sorry, the bad news was at the security check-in, is this a bit of irony or not? At the security check-in, I had my phone in one of the tubs. Somebody stole it. So if you've tried to text me or, pardon me, get a hold of me through my phone, and you're going, why won't that guy answer his phone? The reason is my phone was stolen right there at the security check-in. Yeah. I made comment to several people, even on the phone or even on the plane afterwards, and waiting on the plane. I said, isn't it absolutely amazing how isolated we can feel without our phones anymore? They're a natural part of our hand, right? So that was bad news. Now, I'm filming this on Sunday. The good news is I've got a representative supposedly bringing me a replacement phone. They should be able to recover the great majority of my information on the phone from the cloud. Isn't technology wonderful? So anyway, two bits of bad luck, two bits of bad news that were neither one any fun whatsoever. The third element of that is the cost of anything and everything over there is just absolutely horrendous. Now, what I'm about to share naturally, it has to be nuanced because it was in the airport. I didn't eat breakfast before I went to the airport. Should have, definitely should have. But nonetheless, I had to catch an early tram. All of the trams or shuttles over to the airport at the time that I wanted to take were already packed full, and I didn't want to press my time. I wanted to be there in plenty of time. Okay, so I leave early, which meant I didn't eat breakfast at the hotel. And so I'm wandering around, I'm hungry, I'm really, really hungry. And I walk up and I order 2 eggs with sausage and Canadian bacon. That's our bacon. It's their bacon. if you please. Uh, I didn't look at the menu well enough. So with 2 eggs on toast, with sausage, link sausage, and ham, $38 for one person. One person. Now, again, I know that that's at an airport, for crying out loud, but still, here in good old Dallas, USA, it probably would have cost me $24. But that's the cost of living in Australia. Now, all of that aside, all right, just push that bad news right out of the side. The trip was, and the conference. I want to talk about the conference. Now, this is what we have. Now, Zach Davis, Travis Drum, you're going to appreciate this. For those of you who do not know what this means, Eschaton in a bunker down under. Last year, I was privileged to speak at a conference in Jonesboro, Arkansas, sponsored and hosted by Zach Davis and Travis Drum. Two fantastic guys, very, very good teachers. Anyway, prior to the conference, the story as I understand it was that there was a Baptist minister, a fairly local Baptist minister, who was invited to come and absolutely refused to come, saying, I'm not going to devote any of my time and go listen or talk to these preterists. There's not but 14 preterists in the world, and they're all in a hunkered down in a bunker in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So that became absolutely humorous, considering the fact that there were over 300 people at that conference. So the running joke was, well, all 14 of us are hunkered down in a bunker in Arkansas. And Al Pershawn picked up on that and said, okay, now we've got Eschaton 2025 in a bunker down under. So Zach and Travis, this is just for you. By the way, I've got 2 T-shirts that I will. I'll try to send you one of them. This is mine. It's not going anywhere. But I just busted out laughing when Al Pershawn gave me these shirts. The conference itself was really, really good. Now, Al didn't know how big of a facility to rent. And needless to say, any facility in that part of the country is just truly exorbitant. But he managed to use a church building, but it had very, very, very limited seating. I believe, this may be a preacher's count, mind you, but I believe we had somewhere around 30, maybe just a few less, maybe just a few more. But they had to restrict the seating to those who were actually able to be accommodated. And Al told me that for every one person who actually attended, they had to turn down 3 requests, which meant they would have had probably over 100 people to attend. Now that's absolutely remarkable. And it illustrates the interest and the enthusiasm for the message of covenant eschatology as it grows in Australia and everywhere else. I mean, there were more than 14 hunkered down in a bunker in Sydney. And the excitement, the enthusiasm was just literally off the charts. It was my great privilege to meet for this my friend Morrison Lee. We call him Maury. I have appreciated Maury for years and years. He is a really good writer. He is an excellent analytical thinker, critical thinker, logical thinker. He has approached covenant eschatology from the perspective of logical progression, logical presentation. And he does a really, really good job. Now, speaking of the conference, Maury was kind enough this morning to send me a link to all of the presentations. Okay, and so I will be trying. I'm probably going to have to send those to Alan Morton to have him post them on YouTube. Uh, I'll try to see if I can do that on Facebook. I don't know if I'm technologically savvy enough to transfer them from that form, Australian form. I just don't know yet. I haven't tried, but we'll try to certainly try to get that done. So I spoke on the challenge of Christ, and I spoke on a couple of other subjects, the Great Tribulation and the resurrection. Now, I broke those down, and I spoke for 3 days, 3 times a day. Needless to say, and I got to tell you, I was thrilled to death with the way my voice held up. Uh, my wife contacted me immediately afterwards every day and said, "Boy, your voice sounded great." To be honest about it, I didn't know if I was even coherent the last 2 days because that's when I was on all the drugs for my jaw. Um, but you know, a strange thing, the jaw was painful. I was in a fog because of the drugs. But when I start speaking about the Word of God, the enthusiasm, the adrenaline kicks in. And I know on the very last day, I had finished my final presentation, and I didn't take my pain pill in time, to be honest about it. So by the time the third speech was over, the pain was just throbbing. It was really, really throbbing, and I didn't have it with me to make matters worse. But at our venue, there was a little building out back, and Al had given me the key to it, so I could go out there and be isolated. And I was so sleepy I didn't know what to do. I went back there and I actually leaned back in a chair and I fell asleep for probably 30, 45 minutes in spite of the pain. And it really, really helped. I just got to tell you, those who helped at the conference, Al did a fantastic job organizing everything. Everything just went super, super smoothly. And I tell you, it was just a joy. It was just an absolute joy to be a part of it. So, uh, let me see. What I want to do here? I'm going to keep this. Yeah, I'm going to keep this tight. I'm going to keep this short. Uh, One of the attendees by the name of Jack. Jack, I apologize. I don't have your last name, but I got a message. I got a phone call while I was in the room. I was getting ready to turn in. I'd just taken another dose of pain meds and what have you, and I got a phone call, and I go, "Oh my goodness gracious, what in the world's that?" And it turned out to be a message from the front desk, and the lady there said, "Do you know a man by the name of Mr. Morey?" Well, yeah. And they said, "Well, he's just left a package here for you. You can pick it up at your convenience." I go, "Oh, well, how nice." Uh, didn't expect that, to be sure. Well, the next morning I went down and I found out that Jack, not Maury, had purchased this Mustang. Now this is a die cast 120th 124 size 2020 Mustang Shelby GT 500. Now, as you can see from my shelf back here, I like Mustangs. I like old cars. Over there across the room, I have a '67 GTO. Even because I love the GTOs. I've only owned 3 of them in my life, but I've always loved them. So, Jack, thank you so very much. It's going to be going, well, right over here. I'm going to move my name plaque. It's going to go right up there, have a very prominent place as a constant reminder of your gift and of the conference. So here's the deal. The conference was a smashing success in spite of the small size. The interest was great. And I've got to mention 2 other people. Uh, I would be absolutely totally remiss if I did not mention Savannah DeAndrea and her daughter Jenna. They they decided that they were going to be my official taxi cab, or Uber without charge, whatever. They took me from the building back to the hotel for 3 straight nights, I think it was. And they made sure that I had pain pills. They made sure, by the way, I'm wearing glasses, right? My reading glasses. Well, I was unloading my baggage there at the hotel one evening. They had delivered me there. My reading glasses came out and they were broken. And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. And they said, we'll go find some for you. No, you don't have to do that. Bless their hearts. They were gone an hour looking for some reading glasses for me. And they came back and gave them to me, would not even allow me to pay for them, for crying out loud. They were just so kind, so gracious, so generous. I cannot say enough about these two, Savannah DeAndrea and her daughter Jenna. Two very lovely ladies. And I told them on one occasion, and it's true, I had spoken to my wife. I said, it's so incredible to see a mother and daughter, number one, so close, wonderfully, wonderfully close in the relationship. And number two, to be so spiritually minded. It was just absolutely incredible. So I just have to mention them. Also, Dr. David, who helped me out with some pain meds, telling me what dosages I should take. And listen, there are many, many other people, okay? I got to meet Stephanie Talbot, naturally got to meet Dawn Sneed, pardon me, and I've absolutely got to mention the fact that when I was there the very first time many, many years ago, I met a guy by the name of Charlton Wilson. And I knew immediately Charlton was a different kind of guy. Okay? Just a different kind of guy. And I was not mistaken. Had the opportunity to sit down for a good little bit with this trip with Charlton. And he was so gracious in his comments about how covenant eschatology had so radically changed his life. So I just want to give a great big shout out to Charlton Wilson. Fantastic guy, super smart guy, and his wife, by the way, who was so very, very helpful to me as well, in and just visiting and talking to me about some of the meds. She had experience in that and what have you. And I know I'm going to leave somebody out, and I do apologize for that. Every single person that I met was just absolutely wonderful, absolutely gracious, wonderful, wonderful questions from the audience, and what have you. So all of that, I know it's not sufficient, okay? I know it's not sufficient, but my profound appreciation for everyone who attended, my profound appreciation for all of those who watched the live feed, and it's up, it's available. All you have to do, I suspect, all that you have to do is do a search on YouTube on Eschaton 2000 Sydney 2025. I haven't looked for it, mind you, but I suspect that's right. Now, here's the thing. We're already planning tentative stages for a return trip in approximately 18 months. Only this time, Al Prashon wants to do a 4-city tour. He wants to fly into one city, have speakers for 1 or 2 nights, fly to another city, have 2 days of rest, another 2 days of speaking, another city, speaking, 2 days of rest, another city. And we've already got 2 speakers in mind. One of them I have already spoken to. I'll tell you about that later. And I haven't spoken to the other one yet. But just think about that. This is very, very ambitious. And so you might be looking for that. But I told Al, I said, Al, you got to remember, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm kind of getting on up there in age. I don't know how much longer I have on this earth, but I'm already excited about going back to Australia in 2026. I hope that you'll keep this in your prayer. Keep me in your prayers for my health, my cognition, my ability to stand up and to speak and to proclaim God's truth. All right. Hope you've enjoyed this today. Tomorrow, I'll get back to our presentations on the feast days of Israel as we continue to show the relationship between Sukkot and judgment and the fulfillment in the first century. See you on the flip side.